Still thinking about it. Okay, good. Good morning, everybody. Okay, so we are recording. I have to say, I had my plans all set. I had my plans set last Tuesday. Everything was created. Everything was ready. I sent it out on Thursday. And there's obviously a really good reason why I don't have you start anything until after our class. And one is that I get to kind of share a rationale or an explanation of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And then there is also kind of an unspoken reason for not having you start until after Monday. And that's sometimes I get hit with inspiration, or sometimes I reflect a little bit and really think about what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I have to say, at this point in the year, there's also really this reflection of how much time we really have together. We have an entire school year. I've been thinking a lot about mental health. I've been thinking about stress levels. I've been thinking about some of the reflections that you have inspired in me, or that you have provided to me. And so I want to tell you a little bit about the journey of that reflection a little bit. Okay. So first things first, I worked more than I ever have in my entire life this summer. I was averaging somewhere between like 15 and 17-hour days every day. And we like to say mental health a lot, but I could tell that my mental health and my focus was decreasing, that my mood was declining, that I was struggling. And I think that was partially due to the stress that being in a pandemic must have on all of us. But I think a lot of it also too was my own workload, and the pressure that I felt regarding my workload. So I started thinking about that, and I started thinking about some of the things that you guys have said about your workload, and not necessarily about the workload, but about the need for clarity of the assignments, the need for being able to focus, the need to not feel overwhelmed. Sorry, I'm going to shift here. And so I like that we have been focusing on, okay, we're going to focus on thesis statements. Okay, we're going to focus on outlining. Okay, we're going to focus on differentiating our body paragraphs, making them a little different. Okay, we're going to focus on ethos, pathos, logos. Okay, we're going to focus on, I like that we're focusing on things. We're going to focus on introductions. That's what we're doing, and so my goal originally was to have you do conclusions today. And I don't think I'm going to. Instead, and even like until 9:02, I was going to have you do conclusions today. And I think that's unnecessary. I would like for you to get really good at body paragraph planning and introductions. And I think that that's okay for another week. The reason why I am saying that's okay for another week, I'll push conclusions to later. I think it's interesting to ask you to have conclusions when we haven't had a lot of class discussion, when we haven't had a topic that necessarily is really challenging us. I think you've thought about success and happiness. That's not something that's entirely new, especially as you're considering jobs and college or a trade or something else, right? So anyway, today is a holiday. Anybody want to put in the chat? And this is not me being snarky. Do you know the holiday that is today, or that what it used to be called by some states, what it's called today? Today is a holiday, to the point where I actually looked up, like, are we still having school today? Yeah. There are a lot of states, this is what it has been called traditionally, and there are a lot of states that still call it that. Do you know what other states are calling today? Because they are no longer calling it that. They have changed the name. Yeah. Okay. They are calling it Indigenous Peoples Day. And I find that, interesting in a way that is not like, oh, how interesting, I find it intriguing. I find it worth reflecting on. I also find it worth reflecting on some other topics and emotions that might come up. And so I'm interested in having that conversation with you today. This week, the plan was originally to have you read an article, great article, by the way. Read an article, do left and right annotations, do an outline, write an introduction, write a conclusion. And today was going to be spent teaching you conclusions. I'm taking that back, and we're going to have a discussion. I'm a little nervous about it because we don't know each other well, but from what I know of you, I like you guys a lot, and we'll see how this goes, you know. So we'll have a little bit of a discussion, and then this week you're going to look at 3 texts, which sounds like a lot. One is a decent sized article. It was the one I was going to have you read anyway. One is a short article, but from someone I think you'll find a very surprising author. And then one is a short video, I think like a minute and a half. So when I say 3 texts, I don't want you to think that you're reading like 30 pages, 40 pages, or anything like that. So we'll read those. We'll view those. You will do left and right annotations for each of them. And then you'll come up with 1 thesis. You'll do 1 outline, and you'll do 1 introduction. All right. So it's a full week. I know some of you have been leaving your English until the end to take care of, if I'm not mistaken, math and history. I get that. I get that pull as well. But we're going to hopefully start breaking some of that habit. All right. Maybe we can knock some of that out today. If you would like to be part of the community service discussion, yes, you are right. I did not do it last week, but I'm going to do that today. I think your class gets out at 10:50, and so I will start at like 10 after 11. So grab some food, grab some water, use the restroom, come back, and if you join me in that conversation, then and you're purposeful in it, and you're helpful in it, and you're focused with it, then I'll give you 10 hours of community service hours. Okay. All right. I'm going to try. What do you got, Will?
I got peanut butter Captain Crunch.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's the best.
Okay. I am going to try Breakout Rooms. I would like for you to have a discussion about Let America Be America again. I'm going to leave you in there for only about 5 or 6 minutes, and then I'm going to bring you back. Okay, so Let America Be America again was the Langston Hughes poem you were supposed to read last week. All right. I'm going to put you into Breakout Rooms. It's my first time doing this with students, so cut me some slack if this doesn't work out as planned. All right, we've got 29 people. We're going to put you in there. I do have to say I would really appreciate it if you would have your cameras on and your mics on, because when you're having a discussion, especially through a Zoom or a Google Meet, whatever, the social cue of like is helpful when you're having a discussion back and forth. All right. So I'm going to put you into Breakout Rooms, have a discussion about Let America Be America again. What did you think? How did you feel about it? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Why do you think you agree or disagree? Ties to today, whatever you want. All right. And then I'll bring you back. All right, here we go. Can you give me a thumbs up? Have you done Breakout Rooms with your other teachers? Like the new one? Yeah. It came out last week. It's thinking about it. Okay. Ooh, it is suggesting 7 rooms. All right. Bye, everybody. Let America Be America again. You have your annotations. Okay, have fun. Still coming back. We had 29 before, and then there were a couple people who looked like had technical issues. So I'm just waiting for a bigger majority to come on back. Okay, everybody. What I would love at this point is for you to put a lingering question you have, not a question that can be answered but like in a quiz, but something that you're wondering about it, that you're questioning, or a thought that you had that either came from the poem itself or from your discussion, or an epiphany, something about people in general, something about life in general that you may not have realized before. All right. So if you could put into the chat, please. Okay. So there should be 28. Okay. If you could put into the chat, please, either a thought that you had or a question that you had, or an epiphany that you had about human beings or life in general, either from the poem or from your discussion. I would love for you to do that now. Thank you, Sophia. Okay, I've got 3. I'm waiting on 25 more. So something that you thought about, or something that you're wondering, or something that you realized, a realization, kind of an aha moment or mind-blowing moment. Yeah. Yeah. I have to tell you, you guys just always just blow me away. Yeah, it was. When I think of the American dream, every once in a while, I'll go back to one of a quote from a TV show that I really enjoy. And they said that the American dream is not ethical, it's financial. And some of my students have said, like, what's the American dream? As though they haven't heard that cliche before. And I explained to them that it's a concept that, and it evolves with each decade, with each generation. But at its most basic, it's the idea that you can come here, you can live relatively unbothered. You can get married, have 2.5 kids, either a cat or a dog. You can own a house, and that everything will be okay. That things will still be hard, but that everything will be fine. And I think you've hit on some of the topics here that are of course in question all the time. The idea that, did anyone ever really experience the American dream as we've described it? What does it mean for people who are not white, cisgender, educated, financially stable people? For all people, race shouldn't, and being poor shouldn't decide where you work. Like how it talked about multiple problems, not just one. I thought it was interesting how different people are, and yet how similar everyone's goals are. Yeah, I think there's a massive amount of division. I think there always has been, but I think it's been much more under the surface. I'm sure that you've heard some of these phrases before. But I think really everyone wants the same things. We want to be respected. We want to be seen and heard and valued. We want to be able to work and have enough so that we can live a life that we want to live. And we want safety and the ability to enjoy life a little bit. Yeah. I'm going through them right now. Are you going through them as well? Different people experience America differently. Yeah. Jonathan, I agree with you. I think people are judging people on color. I think there's a lot in that. I think there's a lot of history behind why that happens. But I don't think it's just based on race. I was wondering what free really means to him. It was nice to see his perspective. Our country was built on forced labor. Yes, it was. Like, it literally was. Even the roads and the railroads and everything else was built on forced labor. Yeah. Zoe, thank you for concentrating on the writing itself, the we, the people, and echoing the Constitution. I also found it really interesting that he was using a lot of rhetorical questions. Have you heard of these before? Rhetorical questions, right? They're asked, but there's no answer that's intended. He's not looking necessarily for an answer. It's more like, I don't know how to explain it. Just no one can give an answer, really. They could give a lot of history. I think it was also interesting that he used a lot of parentheses. We call those asides, like kind of when you're like kind of mentioning to somebody. And so after each portion, there were all these questions. And then there was the America's not America, America has never been America to me. Yeah. I wonder how much progress America has made since the poem was written and what the next steps are to fight discrimination. We're in a unit called Us versus Hate. It was through UC San Diego, and they have partnered with national and global partners to bring anti-racist education to all people. And so we will be doing a project that we will submit to them as part of a contest to spread messages of respect. Yeah, I appreciate this. It's heartbreaking that he's never felt free or equal just because of his skin color. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen these before, but I believe it's called Difficult Conversations with a Black Man. If you haven't seen these videos, they are so interesting. I've always considered myself to be someone who sees people as equals. I think part of that is because of my upbringing. I grew up in LA. I've always lived in Southern California, and so there have always been people of color around me. My best friend was Mexican. My best friend was Samoan. Like, this was just the norm to have so many people from so many walks of life in one spot. That being said, some of the conversations from this little collection of videos, not little like insignificant, but they're short videos. The difficult conversations with Black men have been really interesting to be able to express with logos and with pathos and with ethos some of the things that I have not been able to put into words, probably because of my privilege. I'm white. And so it's been interesting. Those are worth watching if you get an opportunity to do that, or if you stumble across it. How do you feel about the fact that we were celebrating Columbus and there's been a shift to calling it Indigenous Peoples Day? And what do we call Indigenous people, and who does that include? Can you throw that into the chat for me, please? How do you feel about Columbus Day? How do you feel about Columbus? How do you feel about Indigenous Peoples Day as a title for such a holiday? Do we call them Indigenous people? We call them Native Americans. Yeah. How do you feel about the shift in a title of a holiday? Throw it in there. I've got 28 of you here. Only one person has thrown something in. How do you feel about such a shift? Yeah, I've seen a lot. I've been looking at quite a bit over the last few days, of course. It always comes up around this time. I agree with the shift. I agree with the reasonings that you're provided. I did see something that was not necessarily a defense of Columbus, but of the, if I use the term scapegoat, do you know this word? Can I get like a yes or a no or a thumbs up or anything? Do you know this phrase, scapegoat? Okay, yeah, the ability to blame one person for many things. And I think it was interesting. I don't Yeah. But it was interesting that this person said, I agree with the shift to celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day. I agree with the shift of moving away from Columbus Day. I agree with the shift. I agree with all these things. Their concern was that it allowed Columbus to be a scapegoat for all of the systems that were in place to put him there. So the king, the queen, the greed, the, incessant competition for material things, right. So it was interesting to me. I don't think that we should celebrate somebody who's, I think so too. And I find it really interesting though, that we continue to teach our younger children the song, right? 1492 Columbus Day. Like we do those things. We continue to do those things. Same thing with the pilgrims of Thanksgiving, and we continue to do them. And then we have to go back and kind of break it. And there's like a tradition in the younger years of some of this history to be glorified. And then we have to come back and re-educate. I find that really interesting too. Mm-hmm. I think so too. So I like the discussion that you guys are having. I think that while it's not complex, it is right. And I can't remember who it was, said to me, it signals a shift of some progress in our society. And I appreciate that. Sometimes I get frustrated with how slow the shifts seem to be. But I can appreciate the recognition of that. Like I said, you're going to read 3 pieces. Okay, so I'm going to jump to that. I'm going to go ahead and present my screen. Thank you for communicating with me. That was nice. Okay, I would love to get to the point where we can just sit there and talk to each other, because that's what I am used to. Okay. Oh, I'm sharing my screen. That wasn't exactly what I meant to do. My bad. Okay, so I appreciate that. I might fill out this discussion gems in just a little bit. I want to make sure that I explain the work that you're going to be doing. I know some people had some confusion over their assignment this past week. All right. If you are in my 2 honors class, even if you're not, there is a real need to focus on how something is written, which is why I appreciated Zoe's statement about the fact that this phrase was included. It's also why I brought up the idea that the rhetorical questions are being used, or that he keeps using parentheses, that he keeps using repetition. And that's important. So when we start looking at, what are your thoughts? What are your questions? What are your epiphanies? A lot of that will focus on what's going on in the world. But I would like for you to also consider the writing itself, thoughts that you had about the writing, questions that you had about the writing, epiphanies that you had about the writing. It's really important. Okay. So anyway, just throwing that out there to you. Here's what you're going to do. As soon as you see this, you know that you're supposed to do your quote unquote homework. I keep calling it independent work because we only meet once a week and the rest of it is meant to be independent. Okay, so this is your independent work so you can practice your skills. We're practicing left and right annotations, right? Being able to look at a text, figure out what's important in the text, but then also what's important in your own thinking. What do you think about it? We are going to practice thesis statements. And we're going to practice outlining, and we're going to practice introductions. All right. All right. Here's what's going to happen. As soon as you see this, it says, please copy paste the rest of these slides and move them to your own slides practice. All right. So you're going to copy that and paste it over. I tried to include the links in order to make it easier. So that's really the only, you have to add this. All right. It should make things easier. As always, your Monday check-in form would be appreciated. It is helpful for me. And it's especially helpful for when I'm doing attendance. Okay. All right, so here's what you're going to do. We have our class meeting. Maybe you come after your next class and we're going to have a discussion about workload, about mental health, about organization, and see what we can do to help me help you, and help me help teachers help you and your peers. All right, so hopefully you'll be there today. I've adjusted the times a little bit because some people said it was taking longer than my estimations. If it's taking you much longer, I want to know about it. All right. So we can see what the issue is, what an underlying issue is, because I was feeling pretty accurate, pretty close to accurate. I wanted to put for the reading and watching and annotations, I had wanted to put 60 minutes. So the longer article I think would take like 25. The shorter article I think would take 15 to 20. And then watching the video would take much less, of course, because it's such a short video. Okay, but I put in 75 minutes to be generous with the time. I hope it takes you less than that. All right. After you look at all of these materials, after you do the thinking of all of these materials, the contemplating of all of these materials, you will do one thesis, one outline. Okay, as though these are all the materials that we looked at. Now, let's say you would have to write an essay. You're not writing an essay, just making an outline. Okay, you're going to make an outline considering your thinking of all three. Okay, you will then write an introduction. Oh, I apologize. It still says conclusion. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that while I'm on here with you, just to make sure that you hear that we're not doing conclusions just yet. Like I said, I don't think that we've had enough of a dive to be able to say, let's draw some conclusions. All right. So just an introduction. And I'm going to put that as 15 minutes. I want it to be easy. I want you to follow the format. I want you to be proud of it and go like, you know, it actually looks good. But I don't want you to destroy yourself over it. All right. And then you're going to send your weekly email. Your weekly email is not optional. I need you to make that happen. Okay. All right. Hang on. It's coming. It's coming. So I'll just show you again, just to make sure you're ultra clear. Okay. Your first one you're going to read is by a professional basketball player. Okay. And it's called Privileged. That is a longer text. But I thought it was very well written. So left and right annotations and some really good thinking definitely comes from that. Okay. All right. Then you're going to read an article that was shared internationally today by the New York Times or the Times. I think it was New York Times. One of the 100 most influential people of the world wrote this today, and I think you're going to be surprised by the author. And I'm interested in your initial reactions as well as your reactions after you've had some time to think. And then we're going to kind of marry a few different things into one topic. We've done some poetry. We've looked at different perspectives. We've considered the African American perspective a little bit, not nearly enough, of course. And then Indigenous Peoples Day, and there's an article in there. But then this is a poem from a Black Native poet. All right, so it kind of culminates. And then once you think about all three texts, you will create one people should statement. When you think about all three, ultimately, what do you think people should? And you'll put people should there. You'll do an outline. This is the most important step. And some people have been skipping it. This is the most important step right here. This is the most important step. And then you'll write an introduction. That's going to be your week. All right. So while I did break it up, I do think you could read all of those pieces in one sitting. I'm going to get rid of that conclusion slide. And then you've got your learning goal update. Okay. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to delete the conclusion slide. Sorry about that. There we go. All right. And I'm going to come back to our meet and I'm going to stop presenting. Okay. Do we have to unsubmit the October work assignment? Oh, wait a minute. There was a new, ooh, I can't wait to see it. There's a new topic. Hang on. Stop presenting. Stop. Am I still presenting? Please stop. Okay, good. Okay, it says, I think kids should definitely learn about Columbus and the Pilgrims as it's part of history, but they shouldn't glorify the bad things that happened. Yeah, me too, but I gotta say, so Will, you're a sophomore, right? If I'm not mistaken? I think you're a sophomore.
Yeah, I'm a sophomore.
Okay, next year, your junior year, depending on which teacher you have, you'll read something called The Crucible. And it talks about the Pilgrims in a way that is, like you said, not glorified. And I think that, especially as Americans, right, they escape Britain. And so we think of them as these great rebels and the whole thing. Oh my gosh, Marshall, the play is so good, man. Okay. But I think we do glorify it. And I think we simplify things in an effort to really like protect the hearts of kids. And then I think that adds to systems that are in place and confusion and other things. So I do find it really interesting. Let's see. Do we have to unsubmit the October work assignment? Yes, please. Okay, so I put it in there as due on the weekend in order to have it show up on your to-do list, because I know that some people had said that that was difficult to not have it in the to-do list. So I had it in there. Go ahead and submit it, add those slides, complete that work. Okay. I am very interested in your emotions when you start reading. I think there are some natural emotions that come from reading difficult texts that challenge the way things are. And I think seeing your own reactions and thinking and sitting back and thinking about your own reaction, like, why do I feel this way right now? Why do I seem to feel, I don't know, defensive or attacked or misrepresented, or I don't know. I'm interested in the feelings that you have, and then are you able to react to your own feelings and continue reading and thinking? Yeah. Are there any questions that I can answer for you? No. Should we submit and unsubmit the work every Friday, Monday, respectively, or keep it unsubmitted? Honestly, it doesn't matter to me. Okay. What matters to me is that you get the work done and that you give me an opportunity to provide you with feedback. That is it submitted and then unsubmitted? That doesn't actually bother me in any way. But if you keep it unsubmitted, are you still doing it? Okay. So you still have to do your work. Yeah. Okay. What else can I answer for you? Can I get a yes if you're planning on coming to the meeting at 11:10 today for the 10 community service hours and talking about workloads and mental health and those things? Can you let me know if I should anticipate you being there? It's okay if not. I totally understand, and I'm springing it on you like an hour or two before. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's the deal. You guys have class at that time. Is that correct? Okay. That's more people than I honestly anticipated. I knew there was a class, but I didn't realize. Okay. Don't worry about it. 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 It is an important conversation. I want to have that conversation, but with that many people wanting to do it and then not being able to, that's not going to be effective. And I need as many voices as possible. So I'll figure it out. I'll think about it. I do have a lot of grading to do. I was helping students last week, and so I have a lot of grading to catch up on anyway. I'll knock out grading. Yeah, we might be able to do it Wednesday. No. It's okay, Mason. we might be able to do it Wednesday. I need to catch up on grading because grades are due. And so, well, it's okay. Okay. Maybe I'll send out a Google form and find out when people can. All right, everybody. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you have a good week. Go ahead and knock out your classes today, take a good break, and then take a look at some of these materials. I think you might find them really interesting, especially today on Indigenous Peoples Day. All right, everyone? All right. Have a really good week. I'm here if you need anything. Bye, everybody. Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye. Thank you so much. Bye, Mason. Bye, everybody. Bye. Bye. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to stop recording. Bye, everybody. Come on, stop.